This is going to be a 1.5 mile flight out to an old grain silo I like to fly to and back. During this flight, I'm going to narrate and switch back and forth between my Mobius HD cam video, which you're seeing now, and then this is my Ghz Vector screen, which is being recorded with my Fat Shark goggles. During the flight, I'm using my 10-inch monitor and ground station to monitor the flight, but I do have my goggles turned on to just videotape so I can show you more on-screen display. Normally when I fly, I always, after I get a little ways out, I always like to engage my return to home, which is basically an autopilot which would fly the plane by itself back to its launching point as long as I've got 12 satellites or more connected. When you see me switch over back to the on-screen display screen, you'll see at the top left, the second icon over it will be a satellite with a number next to it. I should have around 18 or 19 satellites connected, which is more than adequate to get my plane to return back to home safely, or return to the home launching spot, which is represented by that green circle right in the middle of the screen. And just below that to the left, the orange arrow is actually my plane's location. As you can see, it's actually turning around and going to head straight back. It's pointing straight at the center dot, which is my launching location, telling me the plane's heading back to the house. But right now I've disengaged, returned to home. I know it's working, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on with my flight out to the grain silo. I'm flying over here towards the east just a little bit, and then I'm going to turn and go ahead and head south, or southeast probably. The top left of my screen, you see the bars. That's my signal strength for my RSSI signal. What that is my signal strength from my Dragon Link, which my Dragon Link basically consists of is a radio transmitter and receiver. The transmitter I've got on my remote control, and the receiver goes in the plane. And that signal strength is just how strong the signal is that the receiver's picking up in the plane, which normally for my flying, it very rarely drops below 80-85 signal strength, which is really good, a really good RC link. But my 5.8 video system won't allow me to fly over about 2.5 miles, so I very rarely push the Dragon Link to its limits. It's capable of 15-20 mile flights very easily, but obviously my 5.8 gigahertz video system won't allow that. I'll lose video before that. So I'll switch back over to the on-screen display. In the bottom center, you see I'm about 1.2 miles out. On the left middle of the screen, I'm flying about 33 miles an hour. In the right middle of the screen, I'm running about 375 feet above the launching point. And there's a grain silo there I want to fly to. Doesn't take long to get 1.2 miles or 1.5 miles out. I'm going to go ahead and turn here to the east, and in just a second I'm going to go ahead and engage my return to home and let the plane fly itself back to the house. And you'll see right here, there it goes. You see the screen, the flashing on the screen, RTH engage, means the plane's in autopilot now. And, it's going to fly itself back to the house. Normally in this area I get a lot of video breakups, so today's an exceptionally clear day. For some reason I'm not getting as much video breakups, so I'm going to disengage, return to home, and turn over to the north a little bit and see how the video signal holds. I'm really surprised how clear it's staying. You see break up there, and that's again recorded through the Fat Shark goggles, but on my monitor I didn't see any of this breakup at all, which my monitor has a little better antenna connected to it, and the antenna is up a little higher off the ground than my goggles. But I was very surprised to see such a clear signal out here, and I'm still 1.2 miles out. So here I'm going to go ahead and re-engage my return to home, and from this point on my Ghz Vector is going to fly the plane home. I'm not going to have any control, or I'm not going to take any control over the plane. Actually, I've hung my radio on the ground station stand, and I'm just kind of standing there and enjoying the flight. The very top center of the screen, or the top middle of the screen, you can see a little icon looks like a house with a green arrow pointing straight up. That indicates that the plane is flying directly back to the house. If that arrow points to the left or to the right off from my home location, what it would do, I think it turns yellow or orange, and then it would tell me which way I need to turn the plane to navigate back to the house. Also, in the middle of the screen, like I say, you can see the launch location by that circle in the very center of the screen, and just down below to the left a little bit's an arrow. That's my plane location. You'll see that arrow start closing in closer and closer as I approach my launching point, which is on my property. And that's another indication that I'm heading in the right direction. So I can actually, I haven't done it yet, but I can actually fly out to the very limits of my video system until I lose my video signal, and then flip my return to home switch and have the plane return and come back and fly back into my within video range so I can pick my video signal up again. I've not had the nerve to do that yet, but eventually I will do that. So far, the furthest out I've gone is 1.8 miles, and I'm sure I can, especially on a day like this, I'm sure I can get out 2 miles easy. Maybe 2.5. I've seen people do 2 and 3 with the 5.8 gigahertz video system, but I've just not done that yet. I'm still closing in on the house, that little white house in the middle of the screen. My house is just above that, my property. You'll see my plane, once it gets over my property, I'll keep return to home engaged. And you'll see the plane just loiter above my property in a circle. I've got it set to do a 120 or 110 degree or radius circle, 110, 120 foot radius circle over my property. And it will continue to circle above my property until either the battery runs dead or I regain control of the plane. And after that, I'll disengage, return to home, and go ahead and land the plane. I've also got a cool feature here. If you see the middle right side of the screen, it's at about 360 feet. That's the altitude I have the plane set to return to home at. At that altitude, I know I won't hit any other obstacles or trees or hills or anything, so I've set it for 360. Here you see the plane starting to make a right turn to the south, and it will continue in this right turn until I regain control. Again, it's flying about 110, 120 foot radius, and it's just going to stay above the house until I gain control of it. So if ever I have a full video loss or I get out flying somewhere I'm not sure where I'm at and I just want to go ahead and get my plane back, I can flip return to home, and the plane will come back to me and circle above me until I find it and then regain control of it. If you look right dead center of the screen, you'll see the green dot, which again is my launch location, and you can see the plane's made it back over the launch location, which it's now circling above my property until I disengage the return to home. Now I'm fixing to disengage that here in just a minute. I just disengaged, so now I'm going to go ahead and set up for a landing. Right now I'm in 2D stabilization mode, which the vector's providing nice smooth stabilization of the plane as I fly it. I've also got a 2D hold stabilization mode, which the plane will maintain a heading and altitude as long as I keep it in the hold mode, which I don't really use that option very much. I mainly just stay with the 2D stabilization. It provides me a nice smooth flight, and I'm always moving the plane and controlling it different directions, so I really don't need to maintain any kind of hold heading or anything. Right now I'm going to turn here to the northwest and then make a final turn to the north and set up for my final landing. Just as I make my final turn, I'm going to go ahead and shut my throttle and just let the plane, I've got enough altitude where I'll let the plane just kind of descend by itself. The vector is going to control that descent to make it nice and smooth and stable. I think once here I got a little bit slow and I thought I was going to fly into the tree there, so I throttled up just a little bit to get over the tree and then continue to let the vector bring the plane down to the ground. I'm really happy with this flight. The Vector always does a really good job stabilizing the plane, especially on calm days. Just makes it much enjoyable and much more fun to fly. You see Bella's coming up to greet the plane. Here's a shot of my ground station and how I had my goggles set up, videotaping. So from that position, they were picking up the signal the whole time, the 1.5 miles out, and my antenna for my ground station's about probably 10 feet off the ground, 12 feet off the ground. So obviously it's going to pick up a much better signal. But overall, both of them do a really good job of displaying my video signal for me. Okay, that's about it. If you guys have any questions, you can find me on Facebook on Tired Iron's site, or also find me on YouTube, my page, Mr. Steve DFX. I hope you guys enjoyed the video.